future me will have already decided what to do that, and then I can just pretend that I had it planned all along. Like right now.
Right?
Hey,
So you
everyone.
make yourself look smarter? Yeah, right now.
Yeah, I'm so smart. Welcome back to Don't Know What to Do, your favorite Ranma One Hat podcast, I hear. I am your host, I'm Elena, and here we have another fun guest you've heard before. Say hi.
Hi, I'm Swarley. I'm back again. I'm become a recurring character now, because it's like the third time.
It's Swarley, yeah. I'm slowly building up my recurring cast
Well, I'm working my way up there.
funny
I think
people.
I am...
I can make my own little fan fiction with this.
Oh, well, what are we here to talk about today?
Yeah. So well, today we're actually going to talk about the thing that you wanted to talk about last time.
Oh, pulling out the curtains down, okay.
Yeah. I remember cuz you seemed interested in music.
Music of sorts, yes. They do sound nice. I do listen to it quite often, yes.
Yeah, I even shared some with you, and we both kind of came to the same conclusion because you listen to like the soundtrack, and it's like this is good, but like, what's there even to say about this?
Uh, I mean, you can get into it a little bit. Sounds good. A lot of instrumental than what I was expecting. They're kind of pulling out the backlog of what they can come up with. So there's a lot of different sounds. Yeah, I don't know. A lot of bells, a lot of wind instruments, a lot of percussions. Yeah, a lot of music.
Yeah, and I suppose we both thought of like, can we do that for 2 hours? And I'm
No.
thinking the answer is no. So I had to throw in some extra stuff in there. So the thing that I wanted to pursue is just a little. Ranma has a very interesting history with music, and it only got more interesting the more I looked into it. And it was somehow like really fun and enlightening, and also frustrating at the same time because I learned just how little stuff has been documented over the years. It's just like I would have really loved to learn more information so that I could have more to tell regarding some of this history, but it doesn't look like any of that is anywhere on at least any English speaking sites I could find. And I even tried to find some other stuff. At some point, I made my way to like an internet archive download from like a Latin American Saint Seiya fan site.
Wow.
From the late 90s.
Wow, yeah.
That was fun. But yeah, so I suppose the first thing I want to discuss is just that like music is surprisingly important to Ranma, and it's something I wanted to figure out because I couldn't confirm this, but I think Ranma 1/2 is the first series to get as much push on the music end of things as it did. I couldn't find any earlier examples. And this is mainly because it's really hard to find sources for stuff older than like 1995. But like, I felt like if there is stuff out there, it would hopefully have been maybe easier to find. But alas, no.
I mean, it's at this point, it's kind of lost media of sorts. Like, if we can't find who started or this push of music, it's hard to like kind of trace down. We're just gonna have to like go with like, oh, at this time, Rama had quite the soundtrack, and then further on, it kind of led into like other shows having like such a deep soundtrack. Would you say so?
Yeah, I'm not sure, and like I definitely wouldn't call it lost media. I saw this more as just like a failure of the internet, because the one problem I kept running into more and more again is one, Google is just terrible now.
Yeah, it's kind of bad now.
And it's just really annoying if you want to search some specific stuff.
Yeah, it's all
And me
bottled up.
having to be like, no, listen, look, there's no time to explain, Google, but I need to find the 1987 Bubblegum Crisis soundtrack. And all you're giving me is like eBay listings of the 2022 reprint of the vinyl or
Yep.
something. And that's
Yeah.
cool, but that's not what I need right now.
Yes. I remember. I don't know if you ever did this, but if you're listening to like a snippet, like less than 5 seconds of a song, and then you're trying to like either there's a lyric in there or it sounds something familiar, and you spend the next 2 hours just like madly searching Google, see if you can find it, and pulling out like every strand of your hair to try to remember what song that was, or try to like discover what song this is. But I've done that numerous times, and it's I think gotten worse over the years.
Yeah. For me, the worst ones are like, I know what this song is, but like, I want to hear this specific cover that I heard of it from like a commercial that I heard in like 2004.
Yeah. That's like I'm pretty sure that's lost media at that point. There's like one recording that's like shelved somewhere that's station owns. I'm quite sure. There's actually a snippet Fifth Stage in Initial D where they have this like piano electric guitar and they play for like 5 minutes and it's not on the official soundtrack and it drove me insane trying to find it. I still couldn't. I had to give it up. But yeah, stuff like that. It's just you're gonna have to like dig through the creator's like original like backtrack or log of like the creation of the show to even like come close to digging it up.
Yeah. So the thing specifically that I was searching is so Swarley, you understand the term image song?
Uh,
What that's referring to?
Not really. Explain?
Yeah, it's yeah, so these have had multiple different names, but basically, so like, when sometimes an anime gets popular enough that they release like albums or singles of the actors singing in character? So it's like it's an album but for like the
Right.
character. That. And and Ranma had a bunch of those, and I wanted to know, is Rama the first one to do that? Because I literally could not find any examples of that specifically, or rather, image albums. If we expand to just image songs, there are earlier examples that we could potentially discuss, but I was like, what about like albums? Like here, like you go to the store and here is a little mini CD with a picture of Akane on it. And it's got like 3 songs sung in character by Akane, plus a little like bonus little like skit at the end as like a little radio drama. One like that kind of thing
I
specifically.
Well, now you bring it up. I guess Rama is the only one that I was introduced to that has this like featurette or this content with the characters because I don't know anything older than that. Yeah.
Yeah, so image songs, that's the thing I was focusing on because I could think of examples after that, like like the Ranma image albums came out in 1991, and I looked up and like the Sailor Moon ones came out in like 93, I think. And in my research, I found out that apparently K-On! Was the first like anime image song to like chart. So like good for them, I
K-On!
guess.
The like mid
Yeah,
2000s.
mid 2000s. K-On! Was by Kyoto Animations, and they did that for
Right?
like most of their stuff. So they did it for Haruhi, they did it for Lucky Star, and like K-On! Was big. I always knew K-On! Was kind of big. I didn't think it was big enough to like actually break a record and chart in Japan with like just like as far as like music in general, not even in terms of like anime standards.
Yeah. Which is kind of weird because the whole joke if you I mean you sure were like around anime around that time, but the joke about K-On! Is they do everything but play music. it is a band anime, but it's just them. I think I'm bringing. I think the creator, yeah, Giga around there. If you remember, if you know this creator, he just does anime reviews, and I watched it when I was like middle school, and his big joke was they just drink tea and shoot the shit, and just a bunch of cute girls just doing everything but playing music.
Yeah, the cute girls doing
Yeah.
cute things genre, which often involves giving them some kind of like hobby or job to just sort of like be
Yes,
act more as like a framing device more than the focus.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, like as you said, that was like mid 2000s, and that's when like this practice I think was at its peak. I still occasionally see some stuff. I don't see it as often, but also I don't follow those types of anime as much, so I don't know. Maybe. I remember finding out that Tomo-chan is a girl had some of those, so they're still doing it apparently.
Huh. Wow. Okay, Tomo-chan. Huh. Well, that's like pretty recent.
Yeah, because there was like an episode where they go to karaoke and like they sing songs for like 2 seconds, and I guess they decided to just record full versions of those songs and release them.
Wow. Okay.
Which is cute, but like, yeah, confirmation that there are still at least some, even if I haven't really encountered it as often, especially as often as like during that peak of K-On! Lucky Star early to mid 2000s era. But going back to the 90s, again, 1991 was when the Ranma albums came out. So I was like, can I find anything older than that? And so in my search, I realized, okay, I need to distinguish between image albums and image songs. Because if we're just counting the songs, the earliest example I could find was, I know I'm in for a treat when the most reliable source I could find is TV Tropes.
Ooh. Ooh, yeah, you're kind of hit a roadblock right there.
Yeah, but I found at least someone on TV Tropes suggesting that the Bubblegum Crisis album had some image songs in it. Like, just as, like, bonus tracks for the soundtrack. And, like you're buying the soundtrack for this, but then at the end, here's, like, some extra songs that we recorded for the album, which is like, okay, that's cool. If we're counting those, I'm sure there's other examples. I couldn't find any. I would be extremely surprised if Bubblegum Crisis was the only one, but that was the only one I could find.
I mean, yeah, it's like the would you say to have a image song or an image album, you're gonna have to have like enough popularity to even try it, right? Because that's the whole what do you say? That's kind of like a major part of the appeal of an image album is this character is so popular that we're using to let the voice actor record an album, and it's fan material. That's like extra content on top of like the original like anime, you say.
Yeah. And the 80s were like when like idol culture really began to take off. So I'm like, yeah, it makes sense that the 80s is when that started to happen. Because if you go back even further to like the 70s, that's the era of like, okay, here's the Devilman anime, and the intro is just some guys singing like he's a common writer of like, yeah, go Devilman, shoot them with the devil beam, devil choppu. And I'm like, okay, that definitely wasn't the era of like, we are making a spectacle of the music. Like, the themes were pretty static. Oftentimes, like there are shows that went on for like 200 episodes, and they would just have the same theme for it. The very first magical girl anime was Sally the Witch, which came out in like the 60s, and then they brought it back in the 80s, and it still used the same intro as they used in the 60s. That's the Sally theme song.
Right.
So the modern context of, well, first of all, like every like season or so we're gonna get a new song, but also these songs are like full on productions sung by like actual professional musicians, sometimes like popular pop musicians, etc. Like I said, the 80s were kind of the boom for that because that's what was happening to entertainment in general. And when idol culture in Japan was really starting to hit its peak. So it makes sense that it started to bleed into anime around that time. And I was just trying to find out but what's the start? What's the earliest example I could find? Uh, and so my next leg of going back even further was I saw one thing claim that like Saint Seiya was like one of the first anime to get like a proper soundtrack release, like a big push for that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, that's something. Like, it's not image albums, but like the fact that it getting these soundtracks was notable in 1985 tells me that I'm probably not going to find much older than that.
Well, I mean, it's also like again the popularity, right? So like, I guess you can try to look up the most popular thing of that era and see if like even fits the. I doubt like you want like an or image album of like Devilman Crybaby, right? Like I don't think that really fits the theme of the show. It's the main characters having a singing
Yeah.
karaoke.
Yeah, probably not. Although
Yeah.
that cover they made of the 1960s theme slaps. They did a great job with that one
Okay. Yeah.
for the album. But yeah, definitely. And again, like I'm not sure. Like it's just a thing that I'm curious about because, like I said, at this point we're counting like just any soundtrack at all, just any respect for like the music that plays when you're watching the cartoon. That's the level we're at in like the early 80s, apparently. And eventually that escalates to like, okay, we're getting the big budget like OAVs being released.
Yeah.
And some of those have big budget soundtracks. And we'll record like one or two bonus tracks for those. And then eventually we get to 1991. And they release 12 image albums for individual characters. You could go there and pick up a little image album about Nabiki. And I'm like, that's nuts. That is such a huge leap.
That's crazy. Yeah.
That's a huge leap in terms of like how much you're pushing this music angle. So I went back even further and I was like, I can't find anything else. That's the earliest I could find that wasn't produced by Kiddie Films. Because I did find one other examples. And that's Urusei Yatsura, which is the other Rumiko Takahashi manga that got adapted by Kiddie Films, the production company. So...
yeah, this seems to be a trend you're establishing here, huh?
So, I found that, and I was like, okay, Ranma 1/2, it's based on a manga by the same person, same production company. They very clearly continued what they started with Urusei Yatsura and built off of that. Like, by the time we got to Ranma, they were literally making idol groups out of the voice actresses to sing, like, a whole, like, 2 albums worth of songs to use as intros for the OAVs. And then go back, like, a little under 10 years prior, and that's when you get Urusei Yatsura, which had a whole bunch of different intros, and the voice actress for the main character, Lum, was a professional singer, which they took advantage of by having her occasionally sing some of the intros. And eventually I looked up in 1993, 1983. Again,
83.
remember, in 85, it was notable for Saint Seiya to get any big push for any album. But in 83, Urusei Yatsura got a cover album where the voice actress sang covers of the different intros to the show. And that was its own standalone album. And I'm like, these are not original songs made for the character, they're all covers, but that's pretty close to what I'm looking for. That's an Image album, right?
As close as you can get. Yeah, I mean, isn't there also the push for a lot of like anime productions would look for specifically voice actor talents that also can sing, because it became more popular that, hey, we're gonna do the opening and we kind of need the male or female cast to be the voice of that, and may or may not play it in the show, but it's important that these characters can also sing, because we have, we want to kind of not milk it, but like have that little interaction, or make a little side album to go along with the anime.
Yes,
That's
absolutely.
becoming a more reoccurring trend. I guess, the mid 2000s again.
Yeah, and that eventually became the norm. And
Yeah.
we could see that by the time Ranma, again, Nabiki got a character album. There's a song, like, there's an album for Kodachi the Black Rose. And one of the songs is just kind of like her laughing, doing her little like rich lady laugh, but in song form. Like, by that point, they were absolutely doing that. We need a cast that can sing. There's a couple songs where it's like the whole cast is singing. One of those Image albums is a Christmas album, which is like, it's just like this 7-minute long track of the entire cast singing like a little Christmas ballad. And then the instrumental version, and then one last little skit. And that's the whole little, like, single. But, like, everyone can sing. And then going back a decade prior with Urusei Yatsura, the main character had a voice actress that could sing. But as far as I could find, they didn't do anything beyond that. It was just this one character getting stuff. It's questionable if that was even intentional, or if maybe they did purposely want a singer for the lead role for this, and then once that proved successful enough, once they eventually got around to Ranma, they were like, let's push it even further. And that's how we get the evolution. And again, comparing all this to what other anime were doing at the time, and all I could find is like one TV tropes listing implying that the Bubblegum Crisis album had like a couple of songs on it. And that's just a huge discrepancy between what this one production company was doing and the rest of the industry wouldn't really make the norm until like the late 90s.
Is there, I mean, if you say Rama, if it's not the establishing trend center for Image albums, at least it really pushed the boundaries of having like most characters, if not like all the main and side characters that they are recurring, have their little snippet and like a little side album that you can just pick up.
Yeah.
Would you say that Rama was that popular to begin with, or they just pushed it out and then it became popular?
I'm not sure, and this is the type of thing I wanted to find in my research. Yeah, and like there's so little of it that's documented, and I'm just like, okay, I can find footage of like the concerts that they held that's literally just the voice actresses singing. They're just straight up a pop idol group doing an actual concert.
Huh.
And it looks like a pretty decent crowd. And
right.
I'm like, that's clearly big, but I can't find confirmation on whether or not that's the first thing to get that big. But also, I feel if there was something bigger, I probably would have found it, right?
Yeah, I mean, if it's that big, it means it's popular, and there's people probably recording it, or at least make it known, right? Like,
yeah, a lot of the footage I found of this stuff is like a bad quality, like early 90s camcorder footage, or like something they recorded for like a little VHS special advertising the group, or like a recording of something they performed on like a talk show. So like, yeah, if not for that, I wouldn't have any footage. But that's the other reason I'm so hesitant to like say definitively that Ranma was the first one, because up until I started doing this research, I had never heard anyone ever talk about the music in Ranma, let alone implying that it was the first thing to have this much push to do this sort of image album thing that became so prevalent as anime became more mainstream. And if I never heard anyone bring that up, who knows what other stuff out there could exist that I just never hear get mentioned. So I don't want to say it, that's for sure, but I have yet to see anything prove otherwise. It's definitely possible that Rama was the first, in which case I think that's interesting. That's such an interesting piece of history for not just this franchise, but for anime as a whole, that just never gets brought up.
Right.
Literal anime history, and I just never heard about it until I had to do research for this one episode for my Rama One Half podcast.
Real deep cuts. This is what we're getting here. Just unearthing ancient relics and information lost to time.
Yeah, and I suppose that's basically what this podcast is about. I'm the person that dug deep into this one franchise that a lot of people have heard of and maybe watched a couple of episodes, but there's so much history and context there that's just missing and is impossible to get into unless you spend like months of your life delving into it like I have. And I'm still discovering new things like this, apparently.
How deep does this hole go? We may never find out.
Who knows? I mean, even I have my blind spots. I've joked about how, like, if I ever learn Japanese, it's probably gonna be because of this, so that I could translate stuff that never got translated. I'm getting in there deep.
Oh yeah, real deep. I have a question. Would you say just the music history is more interesting to you, or the music itself would be just or more interesting than the history of Rama? Because I listened to the first, I guess it was the anime soundtrack, the first album they got released,
Yes.
or the first like effort to release like a soundtrack album.
Yes, I believe it was the first one I listened to.
Yeah, it's not the greatest piece of music I ever listened to. This to start off with, but it's also, I guess, interesting to listen to just like if you just break down, just listen to the tracks where they made like a minute 50 seconds of just a little like snippet where you can play to just like kind of quell the scene and like move on the show. But you listen to all of them stacked together, and there's not much cohesion other than what the title says, and you can have to just figure out like either you hear maybe that specific sound bite throughout the show. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is famous for doing this, where they have that little guitar riff in part 3, where every time JoJo like do something cool or like says tries to talk down the villain or just about end the episode, they'll play that little dun, 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 and then you know that music cue, like, oh, something's about to happen. He's gonna punch real hard, or the villain's gonna get like be shaking their boots or something like that. But for Rama, since I haven't watched the anime, I don't know if there is that little jingle or snippet of a music that keeps playing over and over to let you know that something's about to happen.
Yeah, I don't think there were a lot of recurring ones, and they changed throughout the seasons, which is why there were multiple soundtrack albums.
Right.
And like, so to answer your question, like, I am not super, like, it's not that I don't like music, it's that, like, I guess my brain just doesn't click with it. I can listen to something and be like, I like this, or like, I don't like this, and I have no way of like understanding why that is. And I just listen to it, and I'm just like, I don't know, man. My brain isn't processing this the way I would process other stuff.
It's just right. It's just not clicking. Something stops, and then you're just like, okay.
Yeah, So like in that sense, I guess the history definitely appeals more to me because I do like learning about that stuff. And it's just more interesting once you know the narrative behind some of these songs. Um, I guess I would say it's also just kind of tricky in general when you're listening to like the score of something, whether it be a show
Right.
or a movie. Like these are tracks that were made to be background noise. So it's a completely different context when you just put on an album that's just that. It blends together, but it's also kind of meant to blend together. But also a lot of them stand out. There were a bunch of tracks where I'm like, "Oh, I remember where that played." Or I'm like, "Oh, that's Dr. Tofu's theme." It doesn't have his name in the track,
Right.
but I
Yeah, exactly.
remember it because that's the track that plays whenever Dr. Tofu's being weird.
Like, yeah, the musical cue that each character is associated with because they so happen to just play that theme. And I don't know how they would decide it. I guess like, it sounds like it fits the scene. Maybe it sounds a little goofy, or it sounds on par with the character. So, for example, I
Yeah.
guess like Ryoga, the hot-headed character, maybe we'll get a guitar riff. Doctor Tofu, more for comedic effect, would maybe get some I don't know, like some horns, some harmonicas, something that sounds a little more lighthearted, a little silly.
Yeah, and there's a lot of that, and like that's definitely different context than when you're watching the show. So like if I hadn't watched the show first, it probably wouldn't have had as much impact listening to it
Right.
again. And it probably would have just been noise. So I can't really judge it that much. And again, this is a thing we did where we listened to some of the music and we're like, I mean, this is good, but like, what are we going to say for 2 hours about this?
I mean, all I can say is I like the music. If you have like examples, I can maybe pick out like, oh, I like this part of the song because it reminds me of this, or I like this part of the song because like I guess in the context of mid '80s, late early 2000s or early '90s, it sounds on par with like the popular music at that time. Which
Yeah.
quick question: was city pop like popular in the '80s or like the '70s? Because
I'm
I know there's a resurgence of city pop, but I just never
pretty
put a
sure,
date on
yeah,
it.
that was the 80s. That was like
Yeah,
the idol culture boom that I'm
yeah,
discussing. Hell, there's some Ranma themes that are city pop. Not as much, but like there's a couple. But yeah, there's I guess the whole point is there's not much to say about like the score, the soundtrack. There's only so much we could say about that, but as exemplified by me talking about there being actual concerts with an idol group made up of the voice actresses, there's clearly a lot more to the music in Ranma than just like here's the album with the background noise. That's level
yeah.
1. That's what Saint Seiya was doing in 85. But Ranma likes to go one step higher, apparently. Or maybe something else did, and I don't know what it is, but as far as I can tell, Ranma was the first. Well, technically, Urusei Yatsura already got one step higher, then Ranma went a second step further, even further beyond. But yeah, I guess that's why I like learning about the history of this because so much of this just really started to make sense and I knew that this was something I wanted to research. Like again, I'm sad that there's not enough information about like Japanese business decisions from the mid 80s. Not a lot of that for me to look into. But like I wanted to look into this because I knew that the main production company behind Ranma and also Urusei Yatsura and other shows that they made during that time, they started out as a music group. As in, like, this was a
Whoa,
production company that specialized in, like, making scores for movies and TV shows. Like, just some random drama that aired this summer, the background noise for that show, that was their production company. And then at one point, they decided to get into anime. And their first one was Urusei Yatsura. And then they made a couple more after that. They made Maison Ikoku, and then eventually they made Ranma, which was,
right.
again, it continued what they had started to do with Urusei Yatsura, which was their first animated production. So I think that's very fascinating to know. And it's especially fascinating because I pretty much don't hear this company come up at all on account of one major problem. So there is an issue I have jokingly referred to as these people read the same Wikipedia articles as me. If if I find any articles acknowledging like who made Ranma, most of them will say Ranma was animated by Studio Dean. If you look up on Wikipedia about the production history, most of it is about the manga. It's about Rumiko Takahashi, stuff she said in interviews, and the anime, a lot of it is like, well, these people made the intros. Wikipedia people love talking about like the music, but like not the actual main production. But pretty much the only thing they mention is that it was animated by Studio Dean. And most of the articles I found would reference Studio Dean. Except that's a very incomplete picture. Cause like, especially in Japan, but just in general, like, look at The Simpsons. It's been a while since I referenced The Simpsons. So
Okay.
who made The Simpsons?
Yeah, don't ask me on that. I have no idea.
Okay, well, like, you got the creator Matt Groening, but like,
Right.
he doesn't actually work on the show, especially
He writes
nowadays.
the scripts as far, and that's also another thing where he created the show, but at what point he took his hands off it? And yeah, we kind of know it's like around, was it season 6 or season 9? Right? There's like the departure of Matt Groening as the main focus.
I think he only did writing for like season 1, and like I'm sure he did stuff because there's a lot of production, but that's the whole point,
Right.
is that there's a lot that goes into a show beyond just this one man wrote this episode.
But we know him as the creator, and that, like, it's The Simpsons by Matt, sorry, his last name?
Groening.
Groening. It will be just his name listed as the title, and we kind of just focus in on that because that's the only thing we usually see after the credits roll. We don't really see the production company or like the exchange of hands or like maybe a couple of the writers left throughout the seasons, or there's a new batch or like a new management company. We don't see that behind the screen. We only see Matt Groening listed as the name for creator of The Simpsons. So we kind of just laser in on that, I would say.
Yeah, precisely. But even if we were to zoom out and just talk about, okay, well, we can't credit this to one person, but what's the name of the company? And you said it yourself. There's like management companies, there's publishing, etc. Fox owns, 21st Century Fox.
Right.
Is behind that, but like, it's not like that this huge company that was so huge that Disney had to buy it so that they could control everything. It's not like this company just has the one studio where every piece of media is made. They own smaller companies that handle specific productions. And those companies then hire other teams. They hire staff. They have their own... they sublet animators. Exactly. They get in touch with... there's a lot of Western animation is done in Asian countries because the production companies in America and the writers are in America and the owners are in America, but it's easier to sublet that to some random Korean studio or something.
I was gonna bring up Korean. I think Korean it has the majority. Cause I believe Avatar: The Last Airbender. A lot of the scenes were animated in Korea.
Yeah, a lot of cartoons.
Don't quote me on that though, but I remember it was like that.
A lot of Western cartoons are like that. So like the question of, well, who does this? It's hard to break down. So when Wikipedia says, well, this was animated by Studio Dean, and like 90% of articles and little podcasts and videos, they just mention Studio Dean, it's like, that is true. The name of the animation studio that did the actual animation, like putting your pencil to paper and storyboarding stuff and eventually animating it, that was Studio Dean. But Studio Dean was working for the production company, which is Kiddie Films, which itself is a subsidiary of the Kitty production company, which, as I said, was initially about making music for like movies and TV shows, and they had other little sub companies within that, which eventually became bankrupt, and Kitty Films was the last part of that. But like that doesn't get mentioned at all in the Ranma Wikipedia page. The only reason I knew about that is because in my attempts to find everything, I learned about the Kitty Films fan club and how a lot of the Ranma specials were just exclusive to this like little club. Like it's called the fan club, but it's basically, it was the 80s. You signed up for a newsletter and sometimes they'd mail you a VHS tape that's like, here's like a 20-minute preview of the upcoming movie, or here's a bunch of concert footage that you could have checked out on. We got another concert coming on later this year. Just here's some specials on VHS tapes being mailed out to the Kitty Films fan club. And that's the only reason I ever learned of that company's name, because I certainly didn't pay attention to the credits. There's so many names.
Right. And even if you did, can you make out, like, specifically, oh, it's by Kitty Films here, here, and here, right?
Yeah, and even if I did see the name, there'd be so many names. I don't know what parts Kitty Films did. And even now, I still don't fully know, but I do know that Kitty Films basically started off making music, and then they made the decision, I guess, to get into anime, except they're a music production company. So, they don't have an animation studio in their building. They had to get an animation studio to do that, and that's Studio Dean. So, it's these two different companies, but it's working together for one production. And that's why you can't really just say, well, this team animated them, because that doesn't give you the full picture. And it's also less interesting, because if it's a lot more interesting knowing that history that Kitty Films had, because that gives you an idea, oh, that's probably why they push the Image album so much. And it's probably the biggest reason why I would absolutely believe that Ranma was the first to do that, because that's exactly what a film, like a music company would do. An animation exclusive company might not think to do that, but if a company is already working with music, if they already have contracts with distribution companies and record labels so that they could hire singers for certain things, if all that is already within their company infrastructure, it makes sense for them to incorporate that into the animation leg of the company, right?
Yeah, and now would you say that this is Rama's biggest strength, is it's within its music production? In terms of the anime.
In terms of the anime, maybe. Because, I mean, the animation quality is hit or miss. Some episodes look amazing. Some of them are like, Most of them are average, at least after the first season, because that's when they had to restructure the show.
Yeah.
The first season looks great, but, like, there's some good animation. There's a lot of good stuff, but, like, nothing that makes me go, wow, this is great. And again, like, some of the music, not all of it is going to make me go, wow, this is great. But now that I have the historical context, and I know that a lot of the music stuff Ranma was doing wasn't the norm, it wasn't what was expected of anime production companies, suddenly that context makes it more interesting. I'm like, oh, that is actually pretty cool. That, they decided to do that. They were clearly testing the waters by putting out like 1 or 2 albums for Urusei Yatsura with the one singer. But then by Ranma, that's escalated to we're doing full-blown concerts, and we're making a lot of the anime stuff with this in mind. A lot of the singers who performed most of the themes for both Ranma and Urusei Yatsura, those were their debuts. Those were their first, like, main recordings released as singles, because they were licensed under, what was the name? Pony Canyon, which was a music production company that often worked with music groups and singers, and they were in charge of, like, distribution. And again, Kitty Films mostly worked on scores for like shows and movies. Those are two different legs of the music industry. So again, Kitty Films isn't going to have musicians contracted under them, but Pony Canyon does. And sometimes Kitty Films say maybe they want to record vocals for a track for some random drama, and hey, we need a contract with people that have singers contracted under them, and that's how this whole network gets started. So yeah, looking into all of that suddenly makes it way more interesting and a lot more fascinating of like, okay, nowadays we think of anime music as that's just what anime is. But again, go back to like early anime and most of it is just silly cartoons. Like here comes Sally the Witch, da 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 da. And it wasn't until shows like Urusei Yatsura and Ranma were like able to get connected to this industry via Kitty Films that suddenly that started to change the trajectory of anime as a whole. Suddenly people were seeing, oh, people will literally pay for an album by some random side character. People will pay money to get the Hopposai Limbo Dance album.
Wow. That is then. Do you ever find out if Kitty Films, like, what happened after Ranma? Like, if they made such big impact and they made all this effort to release these individual character albums, then they must have enough manpower to go after either more anime production or just keep existing as a like a TV media like music company, or did they just kind of fizzled out after the 2000s? Like, what do you know anything about that?
So, I'm looking at the Kitty Films Wikipedia page right now.
Right now,
I mentioned they were not mentioned on the Ranma 1/2 Wikipedia page. Here, Ranma 1/2 is mentioned alongside the other Rumiko Takahashi works, and then after that, we just got some like. We have a paragraph about how they suffered financial problems, followed by citation needed.
so we don't even
and
know.
Then the next sentence is around 1995. It's not even certain that it was 1995. Just somewhere around that year, Kitty Enterprise was purchased by Polygram, and I'm looking at the list of their productions, and they're all in alphabetical order. There are no years. I don't know when any of these came out, so I don't know what their last production was. But I'm noticing some of them have a little parentheses. So, for example, Ranma 1/2, parentheses, sold to Pony Canyon.
Huh.
Urusei Yatsura, sold to Pony Canyon.
Like the rights to?
Koku, sold to Pony Canyon. It just says sold to Pony Canyon.
So we don't, so what sold, like the rights or like all the media like got transferred? Hard to say, right?
That's all it says, sold to Pony Canyons.
Huh.
Like these shows are like you can watch Ranma for free right now. It's all on Tubi, and also like every streaming service has something on it. Obviously, someone has the rights to the anime right now, and they're in charge of that and distribution. Presumably, Pony Canyon, which again was originally like a record label music company, which and I look at that. Despite the fact that they were heavily involved with like the music of Ranma 1/2 and all these other anime, none of those anime are listed on the Pony Canyon page. In fact, barely any are at all. It's mostly about the music groups that they produced. And yeah, I'm just not seeing stuff. There were mergers, a bunch of things, and this is the unfortunate issue with this kind of history, is that oftentimes a lot of these companies, they just either fall out or they merge, or everything that they own is sold to another company, and who knows what the full story is there. Wikipedia doesn't. Because I'm looking at these 3 different pages and none of them tell the same story. So again, when people look at the Ranma 1/2 page and it just says, oh, this was animated by Studio Dean, that's like, yeah, I guess that's the one thing you can definitively say in your YouTube video essay about Ranma. Because good luck getting anything else definitive here. None of these other pages even link to each other.
It's it's I guess it's interesting to see that what became of the studios and afterwards, that they made so much and kind of just disappeared after, right? I mean, Studio Dean still exists. I forgot what they do recently. I don't want to say Attack on Titan because I think that was Studio Wit and Mappa. But yeah, the other, like, Pony Canyon does that still exist today, or did it just also kind of got swallowed up by another company, or just like kind of fizzled out?
I think Pony Canyon got swallowed up, but there's still stuff under the Pony Canyon label because that was purchased. Right. And so I get, like, in terms of the question of, well, who owns the rights to Ranma and all that, who's the one making these deals with Tubi and Hulu and all that to have this show on for streaming? And the answer is, I don't know. Probably some guy who works for a company that merged with another company that works for another company, and that's the company that bought the stuff owned by Pony Canyon, including the stuff that was bought from Kiddie Films. And it's just, this stuff just keeps jumping around, that most of the people involved, it's just a regular day at work for them. It's just, what do we have, etc. It probably wasn't seen as like a big deal. This is just business as usual.
Yeah, it almost seems like Ranma got scooped up and it got leased out to different companies for streaming. Like I think Viz Media had like quite the collection of manga over the years, but when they died out, like no one really scooped up like their collection, or other companies had to buy in and like do reprints and all that. Because I think they're the only ones who released like Great Teacher Onizuka in like English in America, and like no one else did a print afterwards.
Yeah, Ranma has its own history with stuff, and like, yeah, Viz is still around. Who knows how much of that is like the original teams, but like the brand is still there. There's a website you can subscribe to get a bunch of manga and a bunch of other manga you can't get. The Ranma manga apparently got like a reprint in like 2014, and that's good because the original run in the 90s for America didn't finish. It only got like 11 volumes in. So prior to 2014, all you had was fan translations. And yeah, that's just the fate of a lot of these companies.
Which, then you would say that having this existed is a miracle of itself, right? They had enough resources to make these like individual character albums, and like so much music was recorded inside of in comparison or in conjunction with the anime getting released.
Yeah, and just, I guess that's just what it's like, because people don't really think about this very much. Like I said, Ranma's like albums came out in 91, and then 2 years later we were seeing the same thing happen with Sailor Moon. Like, right. Even Dragon Ball got a couple of little songs here or there in their albums. But like, we don't really think about like, well, who's the production company that made those? Because obviously the studio that animated Dragon Ball Z isn't the ones getting the voice actors to record these pop songs or whatever. That's a different company altogether that's handling that end of the deal, right? And that's usually the kind of details that get left out. People don't talk about, well, who made this? Oh, there's a very fun documentary, and I bet they'd love that it's being called that. Do you know Defunct Land? Do you know that YouTube channel?
Defunct Land?
Yeah.
I think I watched a couple of their videos. I can't remember what it was, but it's it's just a brief history of like not lost media, but like a brief history of like like stuff like this, right?
Lost
Like,
theme park stuff.
oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. A lot of this stuff we're discussing now, but for theme parks specifically, and it's expanded beyond theme parks. Like one of their biggest videos is about who wrote the Disney Channel jingle, and the like years long process he went just to find that one answer, because the answer was just some guy. So of course that didn't get documented anywhere. And it's him having to like figure out and go all through all these dead ends and like get to the bottom of like, well, maybe he can track the production company that did it,
Wait,
but there's like dozens of people
the
there,
the
and
jingle
etc.
where is the jingle you're talking about where they go, you're I'm blah blah blah, and you're watching Disney Channel, and it's like da 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 something like that.
Yes, that
Is
one
that yeah?
exactly. It's
That
like
okay?
it's like an hour and a half video, which like he a running gag is he calls it a documentary, but he always acts like he's embarrassed to call it that. But like that's what it is. It's a 90-minute documentary about here's this jingle that's been with the channel for like 30 years, but
Yeah.
like who wrote it? Who made that?
I'll tell you who wrote is getting paid every time that thing plays.
And yeah, well, no, because like a lot of these
Or not.
things is just like, well, like a lot of these things, especially for like commercial jingles, like people don't get royalties for that. It's like, yeah, we're gonna make a commercial, just do like a 5-second thing. It's literally 4 notes. Da 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 da.
Yeah, the da
Like
da
that.
da da, and then
They didn't include royalties in that contract.
I mean, it's one of the, I mean, I guess for like music and sports too, there's like always the music specifically. Like, would you rather get paid royalties like 5% of every time either this gets played or this gets sold, or like this, there's a transaction involved, or would you get paid X amount of cash like right now?
Yeah.
And you as an artist, you don't know unless you're established and you have a lot of history and like experience. You don't really know like what is your hit gonna be, or like what your music is gonna turn into. I can't remember what it was. I think the Aquabats had like a theme song, or I'm misremembering, but like there's a band who made a certain song, and then I think MTV picked it up and they had it as their intro to like ridiculousness by like I forgot the host, but every time they played, they get like a bump in royalties because like they play the music. And I think for a while they keep doing reruns of that show, so that band keeps getting kickback. So like that was their most popular song.
And if you can't get a contract for royalties for something that like you did, that's great. But also, especially if you're working for a company that just makes like commercial jingles that are only going to be on TV for like 2 months at most, and then never heard from again, it just becomes lost media. Most of the stuff you make is just there to put out and be done with. So you just get paid whatever the company gives you. And sometimes, you do whatever. Other times, hey, you just made the Meow Mix jingle. That's the thing this brand is going to be known for the next like 35 years.
Yep.
Oh, who knows if you got paid for that? That's just how it is. So, and that's just for like individual people. And then even when you zoom out even further on the macro scale of the individual companies present, and it becomes even harder to keep track of. So, I never mean to throw any shade when I say, like, oh, these people read the same Wikipedia articles as me, for when people just regurgitate the same info. Oh, Ranma was made by Studio Dean. That's not incorrect. They did their research, they looked it up, and as I'm proving, it's hard to get further research than that. But, like, at the same time, I'm like, there's so much that gets lost before we even get to the discussion. I was planning for this to be like a little 20-minute intro before we even start talking about the music, and we haven't even gotten to that yet.
Yeah, I'm wondering where is this going, because it's more of a business at this point of Ranma's music and production, if not anything else. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's more or less the history I was able to find. It doesn't really have like a clear or happy ending, but that's just how production goes. And I find this context interesting because I don't want to just make an episode where I just list all the different albums and that's it. I don't want to just be like, and then they made an Akane album, and then they made a Kodachi album, whatever. Like, I don't want to just read Wikipedia. I don't want to just look down the list. I feel like the context is part of the story. And I don't know what this context gives, because that's just where the story ends. Who knows? It doesn't really feel all that relevant anymore now that we can segue into talking about the actual music. But, like, I don't know. Maybe it adds something. Maybe that is interesting context that you could have in the back of your head of, like, yeah, of course, there's, like, 12 like idol group songs with the voice actresses. Look who made it. And you could feel the company behind all of this. You could feel their presence, even though that company isn't around anymore, because you're like, yeah, that's an interesting story. It's not a particularly good story, because most of it is just, and then business happened, but it's interesting. I like learning this. I don't know. Maybe that's just me.
Yeah. I'm definitely curious now as to if Rama is like the first big anime that has all these like side these like character side albums and music to incorporate into just watching the show. And we mentioned earlier, like wow, almost like 40 minutes earlier, it was K-On! That has peaked in, was it the top 10 charts in Japan as for pop music?
I I don't remember the specifics, but it charted in something. Hold on. I could just look at because the Wikipedia page for image songs is like 6 paragraphs. I didn't get much.
Right.
Let's see. One of the songs from K-On! Debuted at number one. Number one in what, Wikipedia?
There's number
With
one.
70,000 copies sold in the first weeks. The characters later became the first anime image group to reach number one in the Oricon singles chart.
Wow.
So,
Yeah.
I'm not familiar with that, but like different things are in charge of tracking singles and album sales. But like, yeah, number one for that week. It was the first anime to do that. That's cool. It's all interesting history.
It is, and I guess you can also say like the music is of its time, and you can really pinpoint like what exactly is popular around then. Like we mentioned K-On! As like the mid 2000s, so you're getting into the modern anime pop songs, like
Yeah.
guitar, piano, and like a little more electronic until what we have now, which is like there's a lot more electronic elements into the music, like a lot more bubblegum pop,
Definitely.
a lot more synth, and back to Rama, there's a lot more city pop elements. There's a lot more acoustics. There's a lot more keyboards and wind instruments and percussions, and that's not even including the whole the Chinese theme of Rama. There's a lot of
Oh yeah. A lot of the score has like Chinese theme.
Yeah.
I remember when the remake came out, a bunch of people were like throwing shade at the fact that the remake's new intro opens with a gong.
Yeah.
Just like the first
Just
Rama
gong.
intro.
Dun, 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 dun. I was like, okay. I thought we're past this, but we're bringing it back. It's
No,
retro
but
now.
a bunch of people were like, "Wait, are they bringing it back? Are they remixing?" No, it just also used a gong.
Yeah,
Never
we're
mind.
using a gong. Okay, cool, guys.
But yeah, if you want to show off, this is Chinese.
Yeah, we just gotta make sure we gotta strike that chord. Let the audience know we gotta hit that gong to start it off. Yep.
That's how they started. But yeah. So I guess we can start talking about the actual music, which brings me to a fun statistic I gave ages ago, way back in the first episode, and I listed the things that I went through. You even asked me earlier, like, how deep does this rabbit hole go? What does that entail? Some of those things are easy. There are 407 chapters of the manga. That
Right?
is unambiguous. It's start to finish.
It's a known fact. Yeah.
There weren't any, like, bonus comics made for, like, a Comic Con or whatever. It's just very clear cut. This is what this branch of the Ranma media is. Then we can get into stuff like the anime. That one's a bit more ambiguous, because then you start getting into where, like, do clip shows count? Do like recap episodes count? What about like bonus episodes that they release through the Kitty Films fan club? Where do we put the OAVs and movies? Because those are part of the anime continuity and made by the same animation team and stuff. So a bit more nebulous. Once you start getting into the specials and OAVs, that's when I was like, I gave the number of like 16 OAVs and specials, and I lumped them together because it's hard to tell what counts as what. None of the wikis keep it consistent, nothing does. But then you get to the part where I said add about 4 albums plus singles and any concert footage or featurettes I could find. And that's where it gets really vague. Because I specifically said 4 because there were multiple compilation albums and none of them have everything, but I was able to listen to most stuff via 4 compilation albums. Like, if I pick these 4 albums, I can listen to maybe like 90% of all Ranma music. Not counting like the score, because that's a separate thing. There were like 7 albums for those, because some of them were just for the movies, some of them were like just the OAVs. This was for like the later seasons, etc. But as far as just like albums, like things meant to be released beyond just this is the soundtrack of the show, that's nebulous. Most of those things were released as singles and then later compiled into compilation albums, which, like I said, nothing had everything. So you had to dig around to make sure you didn't miss anything if you want to do what I did.
And would you say that all the soundtrack is available to find still, or do you think there's still like lost, or something that is only in a physical copy?
I was able to find pretty much everything. There was like one exception. There's like one song.
One song.
I couldn't find.
Okay.
And that's because, so a lot of those singles, remember I said a lot of the songs for like the intros and outros, a lot of the artists, they were just random new artists, licensed under, Pony Canyon.
Yeah, you said it's their debut, right? It's just like, hey, we have
Yeah.
an opening, please sing, I guess, a song for Rama and a half, and then we'll see where you go from there.
Yeah, so a lot of those singles had 2 songs. Here's the one we made for Ranma, and then here's just a second song, because that's how singles work. We're not just going to have you sing one song and then put that out by itself. CDs are expensive.
CDs are very expensive, especially back then.
Yeah, and these were mini CDs.
Yeah, you're getting it like you're paying like what, like $2, $5 to get like 3 minutes of content.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So a lot of them had little like B tracks. I mean, they were CDs, so it's kind of funny how we still call them B tracks, even though cassette tapes and stuff have been so out of fashion for so long. How many people don't even know why they're called B tracks?
I don't know. You're gonna have to take a survey on that one.
Yeah, but anyways, yeah, they would have little like B-sides of like, here's an extra song. That it has nothing to do with Ranma. It's just that, like you said, hey, we need someone to record a song for Ranma. We're licensed with Kitty Films. A new person, come in, here's your debut. You'll get 2 songs. One of them is for this anime, and the other is just so that we have something else to put on the CD to make the most of our money. And so even though these have nothing to do with Ranma, they are still technically included. They once made a compilation album of all the singles for the intros and outros, and it included the B-sides. So it's like, oh, that's cool. But for some reason, one of those singles had its second track missing from the compilation album, and I couldn't find it anywhere. It's just this mystery. It's not even like I had to find them all and this was the one that's missing. It's like, no, all of them were featured in this one compilation album, except for one. And that's the one song I couldn't find.
It's the one that got away.
Yep. But yeah, that's that. This wasn't my original intent, but I guess when I said 4 albums, that's very nebulous, of course. When we're talking about compilations, there's some overlap. Not everything's gonna get covered. But another reason that for me to say 4 albums is appropriate is because I think you could classify all the Ranma music into 4 categories. The first category would just be the score. You know, the instrumentals, the stuff, the soundtrack we've discussed. Second would be the intros and outros. This is this stuff we're talking now, which is just whatever Pony Canyon does. A lot of their early contracted workers, their singers would get their start. And I think that's pretty common, maybe. Like a lot of singers getting their start making anime music and then branching out from there. And the third category, technically third and fourth, is image songs for the characters. I say third and fourth because there are 2 ways these were released. The first is just the image albums. You go to the store, here's an album cover with Girl Ranma on it, and it's got some songs in it. This is an image album for the character. It's why they're also sometimes called character albums or a bunch of other stuff. I don't even know why they're called image albums.
Yeah, it was when you first brought up that term, I was wondering because does it have like a photo album included? Is there like specific art that's added with the album as a as to draw up more sales?
I don't know. Maybe it's because it's anime, so like it's like the cover is just a picture of the character. So that's how you know it's an anime song? I don't know. Huh. I don't know why they're called that.
Okay.
But anyways, the fourth category, they were image songs, but they were included in like full albums, not just for one character, but just here is an album with a bunch of songs in it, and that's that. So there's some songs with like even less important characters because here's an album that had like 20 of them. And everyone got their shot. And it's just the one album as opposed to here's the little Akane single or here's the Ryoga single, etc. Right. So those are the 4 categories. The first 2 are pretty self-explanatory. It's just the music made for the anime. But the next 2, the image songs, that's the interesting one because that's where you really see the kiddie films push of, well, we have these actors, we hired professional singers to do the voice acting specifically so that we can make music with them. We're going to make songs just for these albums. They're not made for the anime, it's just its own separate supplementary material you can buy. And that is like enough to be its own like 2 separate categories, and there's stuff to discuss there. So I guess that's the last thing to get into.
Yeah, it's just, and what we want to do, we want to separate what was made for the anime and what was created in addition to the characters.
Yeah, so like the intros and outros, those are its own thing.
Right.
The OAVs, like I said, they made an idol group with the voice actresses and made like 2 little mini albums worth. Each one had like 8 or so songs.
That's an EP technically. I mean that's still a collection of songs. Like 8 songs it's not like that small, right?
Yeah, it's not that small.
Yeah, it's not that small.
It's I hate this terminology. It's so inconsistent, but yeah. Like again, they're called image albums, even though most of their time they're released as singles with only like 2 tracks on them. But it's still called an album. I don't know. But anyways, like, they made those, and then they used those songs as the intros for the OAVs. Which I suppose made sense, because it's like, we're just releasing a couple little bonus episodes on VHS as, like, direct-to-video, and we're also making this concert stuff. We'll just use those songs. We don't have to pay to have another theme made for these one-off specials. We can just have each one have one random track from the album. But aside from the OAVs, most of the intros and outros for Ranma, those were just like, hey, Pony Canyon is in charge of that. They got their own artist license under them. Just leave it to them. They'll make us music, then we'll send it to Studio Dean to animate for the animated intros and stuff. So, that doesn't really need to get discussed. The image songs is where I guess we'll talk about them. So, I was confused for a while because these image albums, which again were singles, but they're still called albums, they were numbered.
Say that again, they were numbered?
They were numbered. So each single, like I said, each one had a little bonus skit at the end, like a little radio drama thing where the voice actors would act out like a 5-minute goofy exchange.
Yeah.
I don't understand Japanese, and I couldn't find any transcripts, so I don't know what they are, but just listening to the context clues, most of them is just kind of hanging out. They're just kind of talking. In fact, it sounded, based on the tone of their voice, it sounded more like they just got the voice actors to sit on a couch and do an interview, but they referred to each other as their characters' names, and they spoke in character, but the tone was still very casual, like, oh yeah, we did this and that, whatever, and I'm like, I have no idea what's happening. But those little, like, radio drama skits, they had numbers to them. The albums technically didn't have them, but each one had a single track of, like, this is skit number 1, this is skit number 2, etc. And I'm like, okay. And I found this fascinating because, let me see if I can get the order. Okay, here's the order of the albums. Nabiki, Kodachi, Akane, Boy Ranma, Shampoo,
Okay.
Kasumi, the whole group. Here's all the female voice actors singing for this one. The old people, so Haposai and Cologne got one. Ryoga, all the love interests together.
Okay, so
Girl Ranma was number 11. And then 12th was everyone, because that was the Christmas special.
They started off with Nabiki first?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay. It seems like you want to do the main characters, right?
I was so confused as to this order until one day I realized why they're in this order. So first of all, apparently they were all released the same day. They all have the same release date. So again, it's not like the numbers are just the order they were released. They were all released simultaneously. So what do these numbers mean? That's where we get into the music calendars.
Okay.
So, something Kitty Films like to do, they started doing this with Urusei Yatsura in, like, 1989. And then they continued to do it for both Meisōnen Koku and Ranma 1/2. So, all the Rumiko Takahashi works got these music calendars, which is basically, here's an album, and it comes with a free calendar.
That's the reason.
We're making the calendars anyways, so we may as well make albums. Some of these have original stuff in them. Others don't. It's flexible. I find it interesting because for all three of those shows, Urusei Yatsura, Meizōne Koku, and Ranma 1/2, the first music calendar that those shows got had some kind of calendar theme. So the first Urusei Yatsura music calendar would have, like, here's a skit followed by a track from the anime that's themed around the month. So it'd be like, here's a skit of, like, we're going to the first shrine visit, and then it plays, like, some wintry sound of music titled January. And then so on and so forth for each of the months of just various themed things related to this calendar. And like I said, they all came with a free calendar. The little booklet that came with the album would open up, and it would have these little like fold out calendars that you mark. And they were like really tiny calendars, so it's like one page had like 2 to 4 months on them. But like, that's what it is. Here's a free calendar. The Urusei Yatsura one and the Maison Ikoku ones, they were mostly just here skits related to the months. But then we get to Ranma. The first music calendar for Ranma 1/2 did not have any skits. It instead had 12 songs themed around the months. Which has me wondering, like, did they make these singles just for the calendar?
I mean,
is that why
it sounds like we are in the realm of like additional media where they're just doing whatever they want. It's like the whole music calendar also already sounds like a gimmick where, hey, we're just gonna theme stuff around the like you said, the seasons of the year, and then here's a calendar to go with it, and here's like the music we want to release.
Yeah, so like the question of why is Nabiki first? Well, the answer is because one of her tracks is titled "I Love New Year's More Than Anything in the World," because that's the holiday where they give you money. So she has a whole song about how she loves New Year's.
Okay, so it's just a joke.
And that's the song for January. I remember the last one was the Christmas special. That's 12.
Oh.
Number 2 was Kodachi. She has a single called Black Roses for Valentine's Day. Number 4 was male Ranma. This one's my favorite. Ranma has a song called Today is April Fool's Day, which is basically him singing a love ballad to Akane, but then you get to the chorus. That's him going like, psych, April Fools! Haha!
Oh.
Just being this immature idiot. And it's like, April! So again, I'm like, did they make these songs just for the calendar? Why are all these characters having like month-themed songs? Number 6 is Kasumi, and she's singing a song about how much she loves her dad, because of course that's the month for Father's Day. Happosai getting the fun Limbo song. Hey, guess what? He's in the middle of summer. All of these. Number 11. Girl Ranma has a song called November Rain. Because it's November.
And it's... Yeah, I guess so. I mean, like, it's the winter month, so you just gotta pick one of them?
Yeah, so
wait,
like...
No, I was thinking of Prince. That was Purple Rain. Not related.
I'm pretty sure there is a song called November Rain by something else. Yeah, Guns N' Roses had a song called November Rain.
Okay.
That's what I'm thinking of.
Can we... Hold on, let me look that up. Like, what year did I come on? November? Wait. 91!
Same year?
Hard to say. Coincidence?
Maybe technically, the calendar came out in late 1990, and the singles were released like a month later in January.
Well, I guess,
So Ranma probably got there first?
Yeah, so I guess Guns N' Roses have to answer to Ranma now.
I can't believe it. I can't believe they stole Ranma's
What a
theme about how sad it is.
What a revelation.
It's a good song, by the way. I think November Rain is my favorite of the singles. But yeah, it's just so funny of like, this was like their 3rd year doing these calendars, and they were doing it for all their shows. So
right.
Like, they made one in 1989 for Urusei Yatsura, then in 1990 they made 2 for 2 different shows, and in 1991 they were making 3, because Ranma was the 3rd show. So they made 4 other calendar albums. Is this the point where they were like, we're just going to make singles for the calendar? Because that's what it feels like.
Is this the only company that did this? Is there...
I've never heard of this before.
Yeah, I never
I
heard of
wouldn't
this
put
before.
it.
If I was like Rama specific, now you bring it up, I'm like, I guess it's only the company that made it. There's no other instance
I
that
feel
I
like
heard. Yeah,
I feel like most again, this is where you could feel the kiddie film's influence. I feel like most animes would be like, well, whoever's in charge of distributing and merchandise, make a calendar. You could just put out a calendar. But for Ranma, it's like we can't just put out a calendar. It has to be a full-length album where you open it up and then the booklet folds out into a calendar and all the songs on the CD are themed around the different months because we spent like how long would it have taken to get all of these voice actors to sit down and record all of these songs themed around the different months after having written them down and planned out who gets which month? This was a whole endeavor
yeah,
just
like,
to release a calendar.
and not only that, you got to write the music, you got to write like the themes, you got to shoot the like the skits, pretty much like the April Fool's joke of Rama saying "I love you" to Akane and like no November Rain, all that. Like, there's a lot of planning involved just for additional media that may or may not get like popular, right? Like, I'm thinking of this as like financially speaking, is this is even worth pursuing as Rama was, because Rama was not like in its heyday. It was not the most popular show, right?
I don't think it was the most popular. Like, it was
It was
relatively popular,
right.
but it wasn't like the biggest thing.
So when we say that there's still a lot of like attention to the anime here, it does seem like what does make sense for the company to do. If not, it's just something that they want to do to begin with.
Yeah, so like I said, you could feel the company's influence. It's like they're not doing this because this is the norm. I don't know if anyone else who was doing this. Most companies would have just put out a calendar, and that's it.
Yeah,
just have some art.
Most company wouldn't put out a calendar; they would just do the anime, right?
Yeah, like the merchandising, this definitely doesn't feel like what was expected of them. This was because this is what kiddie films wanted to do. Somebody thought, well, we have these resources, we have these contracts with music production, we have people that work with music, we have voice actors that can sing. Of course, we're gonna make music. We're gonna stand out. Everyone else is just they're just selling regular merch. Here, do you want like a Dragon Ball blanket? Or whatever? I don't know. Do you want some action figures? What's Rama getting? Here's an album to go with your calendar. I like thinking it's funny because like, it's basically an album that comes with a free calendar, but the way it's produced, it feels like it's the opposite. Like, we're gonna put out a calendar, but because we make music, we're gonna give you a free album with it.
It's real chicken and egg situation. Like, what is the gimmick here? Is it the music or is it the calendar with art on it?
Yeah, and they did get their money's worth out of the singles. It's not like they were made just for the calendar, because again, they also released each of these singles separately. And then we got the Hot Song Contest.
What is that?
So they made like a 2-part special that aired on TV and was then released as like a special VHS tape featuring both via the Kiddie Films fan club. Again, this was animated. This was a proper thing that they made where it's basically here's like animated music videos for various singles, but also we put little skits in between of like the characters are like in character. They're in the studio performing. Like it's treated like what do they call it? It's treated like a variety show kind of thing. You know, like the Very Brady Show or something where it's like, hey everyone, we're doing a whole show, etc. But it's the Ranma characters and they're using the songs from the albums, which they repurposed to animate. Well, I say repurposed, but these were all released simultaneously. They made these songs knowing that they basically released them like 3 times. We're putting them on TV, we're making animated specials for them, we're making the calendar, we're putting them individually, and then like a few years later they made a compilation of all the singles. Like, they sold those singles. They sold them, but they sold them in so many ways. And the idea of like, here is this made for TV special that's just the characters singing the songs to advertise the albums, basically. But then they release an album that's based on the Hot Song Contest, because some of them are slightly different. There's a track by Akane, and in the album it's just her singing. In the Hot Song Contest special, it's like, do you know, like in the Yakuza games, when you do the karaoke minigame and
Yeah.
someone other than Kiryu is singing, but you still press the buttons and Kiryu's like, yeah, yeah, go, go, yeah, woo! And that's his contribution. They basically did that.
Wow.
So when Akane's singing, you get Tachiwaki Kudo in the crowd like, yeah, go Akane, woo! And just cheering for her. So the Hot Song Contest album version of that song features Kuno screaming in the crowd as she's performing for this in-universe, like, out-of-character, but also still in-character variety show performance. It's weird.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. It sounds like modified. That sounds like the only thing I can think of, like, in terms of anime is, like, back into 2000s, or, like, early 2010s, mid-2000s, they have, like a season of an anime, and like the very last episode, if not like towards the middle near end of the episode, they have one opening where they just add sound effects. Like you'll get the opening, and then there's suddenly just like a bunch of sound effects and maybe even a couple ad-libs sprinkled throughout. I always find that like interesting, like why would they do that here? It seems unnecessary. Because it's more or less, it's just the same opening. They didn't do anything special, but they added like these sound effects.
Yeah, during my search I found out they released like 2 different versions of like the movie soundtrack. One of them was just the actual soundtrack. Another was like a bonus CD that I think was also released via the fan club. That's like, here's previews where like it's the score, but they basically played clips from the movie, so you would hear the sounds from the movie. So, for example, the intro to the movie where Hopplesai's running around getting up to wacky shenanigans. There's a version, like if you buy the soundtrack, it's just the music that played during that scene. But then there's this entire second album where the first track, it's that song, but you hear Hopplesai's wacky shenanigans in addition to the music. And yeah, it's stuff like that.
It's yeah, I get. There's so much. I guess the more we talk about, there's so much content here that just is not talked about ever.
Yeah. So yeah, there's the singles which were repurposed multiple times between the calendar and this animated special, and then standalone, and then multiple compilations. Because eventually they compiled some of the singles, but not all of them. And again, there was the Hot Song Contest got its own version of the compilation. And then eventually, like I think in like 2017 or something, they eventually released like the best of Ranma that had like everything, except it didn't have everything. So I still had to look up the other albums.
So the best of Rama is just all like a collection of songs or a collection of albums?
It had 2 discs. The first one was like the themes from the anime.
Yeah.
And then the second was a collection of the singles from the Image albums, but it didn't feature all of them. And I noticed that a lot of the ones missing were in the Hot Song Contest compilation. So maybe that's why they excluded them, because like, well, it was already in this album, even though this best of collection was released way later.
Yeah.
And also it didn't include the songs from like the movies or the specials. Like, yeah, 2015, and the Hot Song Contest album came out in like 1990. So if that is the reason, that's really weird to be like, well, they were already this other album that came out 15 years ago. Why would we reprint that? But
yeah,
I
this,
can't think of any other reason why they would exclude some of these songs.
but yeah, it just goes again. There's so much additional media that like, who's it for? Really, it's for like the mega fans, or is it for people who or just trying to drum up attention for Rama again? Like it's hard to say, right?
I, yeah, I'm curious. I mean, like 2015. I did mention the manga's got a reprint in 2014. And I don't know, but like that's the era of like maybe there was a Blu-ray collection that was coming out at the same time, because that's just the era of like, hey, there's a bunch of stuff that hasn't been released since like 1992. Maybe we can make money re-releasing that now that
Yeah,
we have all
okay,
these
that makes more
digital
sense.
mediums.
Yeah,
Especially since, like, again, CDs are expensive, and back then you'd get, like, albums with, like, 12 tracks, but now here's the full 2-disc collection with, like, 40. Counting all the intros and outros and the singles, even with the stuff that's missing, that's still a lot.
yeah. There's a lot of content going with 40, like 40, 30 to 5 minute songs.
Yeah, hold on, actually, let me look it up. Disc 2 had 18 singles, and the first disc that included all the intros and outros also had 18.
Wow.
So yeah, that's like almost exactly 40. They certainly weren't releasing CDs with like 40 songs on them in the 90s. So yeah, maybe that's the reason of just it's modern day, we can re-release some of this stuff, and that's just how it is. There is one other compilation, because I mentioned there was another one that was just like, they're not singles, this is just a standalone album for everything, and that's called the Fighting Songs Karuta album. I've never heard of Karuta before. Karuta, whatever.
Yeah.
It's some card game. I don't know. It's like I've heard of Hanafuda cards, and this is apparently in that same school of cards, but they're different. They're a different type of cards for like Japanese playing cards. I don't know, but anyways, the cover is like the family playing cards, and like the dad has a microphone and they're just kind of hanging out. It's got the tone of like everyone's just going out for karaoke. Cause it's like every character gets a song. The freaking Gambling King got a song. Everyone gets a song.
Music is not sparse in Rama. There's quite a lot of music going on. Even the Gambling King got a song.
Okay, so really important. Most of these songs, like again, it has the tone of like everyone's out for karaoke, because some of these songs are just like goofy little skits.
Right.
Like one of them is like, yeah, the second track or something is called like Miracle Panda, and it's like, here comes Genma, and then you hear him getting splashed, and then he's just making panda noises and he can't sing, and that's it. It's like 12 seconds long. Some of these are like, remember the ice skating duo? Do you remember those characters?
Yeah, the brother and sister duo that challenged Rama. Or,
yeah,
no,
I don't
the
think
other
they
way
were
around.
siblings,
Yeah.
although I have no idea.
I thought they were siblings, weren't they?
No, but they seem to hate each other, which raises
They
the
do.
question of why are they hanging
Yeah.
out then? Yeah, the girl of that pair, do you remember she had this whole gimmick of like she likes cute things and is like, this is mine.
Yeah.
And that was the whole thing of like she wanted Peach-chan. She's in this. She gets like 3 songs. They're all like 8 seconds long. Cause they're all just hers like doing little sing-songy of like, ooh, I love my thingy. This is mine. Or whatever.
Okay, we're really stretching the idea of a song here. It's 8 seconds. It's more like a skit at this point.
Yeah, again, it's meant to be listened as like a full album.
Right.
Of just, here's like 90 minutes of like, again, it feels like a party. Like they just invited everyone for karaoke night and wacky stuff happens. Of course, this girl's going around causing mischief, doing whatever. Of course, we get jokes. of Genma wants to sing, but then someone splashed him and now he can't sing.
Right.
They later do the same joke again with Moose, so it becomes a running
It's just
gag.
that in a duck, okay. Or a
Yeah, and it's
yeah.
literally just Moose making duck noises trying to sing a cover of a song. Hey folks, it's Elena from the future here. I'm just editing. I wanted to clarify an error that I made. See, I actually mixed up two different punchlines over these albums. See, there are two different songs where the joke is that Genma can't sing because he's in panda form. One of them was in the single version, and the other was in this album version. But those are two different songs. There's also an unrelated song where Moose is singing a cover, but in normal human form. But for some reason, it's credited under duck. He says the word duck in English during the intro. I can't understand Japanese, but based on the context, I think Moose made a band. I think this is meant to be Moose roping some of the other boys in to play a band with him, and they're all doing terribly, and Moose can't sing. But unfortunately, he is not physically a duck while singing that. In my mind, I must have thought that it would have been funnier if he was a duck as a continuation of the Genma joke, but it turns out no, those were just two different things, and I just thought that my version was funnier, and that's the part I remember. It happens. Unfortunately, I apologize for creating this mental image in your head, only to reveal that it's not true. It would have been funny, so the lesson is they should have put me in charge of this album back when I was a toddler. I think that would have worked out great. But anyways, I apologize in advance for the references I'm going to continue making to this quacking song that does not exist. I apologize. That's just my headcanon. Whoopsies. Because they also make covers of all the different outros and intros, and this is something I like. They don't just use the instrumentals of those songs and sing over them. They have the, like, when you go to a karaoke bar or whatever, and you play a song, and, like, it's not the actual track. It's like a weird bootleg version that somebody else composed for you to sing over.
Yeah,
with different instrumentals.
Yeah, it's an edited version of the song you want to sing, but half the time it kind of takes me out of it because I got used to singing the song with the original artist, and then like the timing's there. But this is like an edited version, and it's always like either a tempo too slow or they make the lyrics like just kind of appear way faster. So I'm always like picking up like this is not how I remember it.
Yeah, well, in this album, when the characters are singing covers of songs, they're singing over that style of instrumental. It's not the original instrumental. It sounds like if they went to karaoke and selected this song, this is the weird cover version that karaoke bar has of this song, as opposed to the actual song. And so again, it has the entire album is this tone of just everyone's hanging out. You could, like, on the cover, you see Nabiki handing out little cups of tea. They're all just having fun. They're all playing cards. They're all singing. It's just the entire cast having a night out or a night in at the dojo. And this is a cute gimmick. And some of them are actual songs. Not all of them, but, like, there are actual songs here. There are covers of the intros and outros. There's some of them, they're just actual regular songs. Again, the Gambling King got a song. It's like 55 seconds long. It's not even a full minute, but that is still a song that he got to sing. It wasn't like an 8-second joke. And so yeah, this is another weird but very creative thing of like, what even is this album? How many other things were doing stuff like this? Of just like, it's not even just here's the Image Song album, because they did that, and then here's just a second album that's just goofy shenanigans. This feels like you're watching like a musical episode, but you're just listening to it and weird hijinks ensue in between the songs.
Yeah, it's like a short OVA, but in the form of an album.
Yeah, in fact, one of the OVAs was the Christmas special where they invite everyone and all the girls sing one of the songs. That song, despite the fact that the voice actresses are singing it, it wasn't included in their idol group album. It was included in this album because it's in universe the girls singing at karaoke night, basically.
Huh.
So yeah, that's that. So we didn't go too in depth about like specific music, and I didn't particularly want to do that because like I said, there's like 4 categories of songs, and each one has its own like weird history to it. And I guess I mostly just wanted to discuss like how much of this there is. There's so much of this, and like there's these weird albums that you're like, if you have like 45 minutes of time to just listen to this, there's weird, cutesy, wacky stuff. Like there's one of like Akane and her dad singing a duet together, and like it's not included, but you could absolutely picture the dad being like, let's sing. He wants to sing with his daughter. He wants father-daughter time. And like you don't get that with the singles because those are more like actual production. Again, the Hot Song Contest presented it as if the characters were doing a professional televised airing of these music videos.
Well,
which is also a weird, interesting way to do that. And this one is more like in universe. It's just the characters singing karaoke. They're just goofing off. In fact, one of them is Ranma doing a cover, and despite the fact that Ranma can sing, Ranma's voice actor can sing, he has his own image song album, and he even sings in other tracks here. For some reason, though, I guess the second opening theme, no, the third, I guess that's his favorite song. Because the cover for that is just like the girls are singing it and he's just screaming off the top of his lungs like, yeah, da, 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 da. Like completely off tune. He's not even trying, but he's getting super into it.
I remember correctly. I think I like that song quite a bit too. It's either the second or the third opening of the anime. I like that song quite a bit.
Yeah, I'll probably play it here so listeners could hear it. But it's a good one.
Yeah, that's a good one. I liked it. Yep, right there. When they did that thing with the chorus. Yep, and then the little
that
chime.
part was very
I like
funny.
that. That was good.
Yeah, but yeah, I guess overall the thing is that like every single one of these endeavors in how music was handled in Ranma, there isn't a single instance of just, and then they made music for the anime and that's it. There's so much to unpack in each different like category of song and how they released them and how they were all produced and the multiple different ways they were done. Those singles came out in January of 1991. This second album came out in December of the same year. They were pouring these things out. They were making these, and this was the same time they were producing the OAVs to be in line with the concert songs, which again, dating back to the beginning of this episode, you look at footage, those are real concerts. This is an actual idol group singing to a packed stadium, and that's pretty nuts to think about when you consider the fact that this might be the first anime to ever do that, to even think about doing anything more than just putting out a calendar.
There's a sort of thing, I guess, like, it's impressive back then, but like now, the idol groups are formed just for, I think, just like the one couple songs, right? But back then, it was like it's unheard of.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the idol group has changed a lot over the years, but like again, this was like post the big boom, the big entertainment boom. I mean, Japan in the '80s, like city pop sounds the way it is because that was just the style of everyone living it up in Japan at the time. And then the '90s came around, and things were not looking so
Things
good.
were not
In
looking great.
hindsight, it's not that surprising that kiddie films didn't last, but they certainly tried their best, and like again, it would be foolish to credit this to one company because it's not just one company. The reason this happened is because they had these connections to all these other companies within the same network, and that's how they were able to make this happen. A single production company couldn't have done all this by themselves. But it's still just interesting.
It does sound like the stars have to align this well to have this much content produced. Like, it has to have this major production company that's heavily involved in music, or was a music company to begin with. You have to have like Pony Cannon, pretty much getting all this talent arranged to sing these singles and make stuff happen. And you have to have, I guess, Studio Dean just to facilitate how to animate any of this.
Yeah, if they didn't have an anime to promote, they wouldn't have done any of this. This was all just supplementary material for a show that was airing on TV.
Right.
And yeah, skip forward like 15 years later, and you get K-On! Topping #1 in the charts, and you can definitely see how this whole industry evolved. A lot of music with anime is taken for granted. A lot of like anime will get actual well-known singers. Look at the people that did the Dan Da Dan intro. That song slaps, but also like that's a real group. They're making good hot music.
Yeah,
this was a good pool. We got the cool people to make the songs for our anime.
There's definitely a lot more to talk about if we want to talk about like I guess Japanese indie bands that just like popped off because they made the opening to a couple anime, and then they keep, because like Creepy Nuts, I think they got called back to make like more. It wasn't like Dan Da Dan wasn't their like I think it's now their biggest song like in terms of like I think popularity in anime, but like they made the Mashal season 2 opening as well, and that song slaps. That song was pretty good. That song was pretty popular.
A lot of people were like, yo, the people that did the Mashal OP got brought in to do Dan Da Dan. It's like, yo, it's good. That's gonna be great.
It's gonna be good. And we haven't even touched on like how bands have influenced more anime than like throughout like the 2000s, and like we haven't talked about Asian Kung Fu Generation, the people who made the most popular, the most well-known like Naruto opening. I would say.
There's I remember there was like a Lucky Star joke where someone's like, hey, I listen to music, I listen to these bands and this and this and that. And it's like, oh, okay, that's fair.
Yeah.
And it's like, didn't they all do anime intros? It's like, yeah, it's true.
Yes, it is true. Yeah, like what's it? I don't really listen to it, but Bump Up Chicken did like the I forgot the anime, but I think they got popular because of like that one song. What else? Claris, they did the Madoka Magica opening.
I remember
they did Nisekoi, and they did what was it? Aromaga Sensei. Kind of a rare cut. Yeah, and those are like different bands, like Asian Kung Fu Generation's like indie rock, if not soft rock or Japanese rock. And Claris it is an idol group. It's a 2-member idol group. I would say. Yeah.
I guess I got to give a shout out to the Peggies. That's the one I know of. They did a couple of things, but more importantly, like look at all this stuff. It is undeniable that like to this day in modern day, anime and music have a very close relationship together. These two different industries are intertwined. Even the most like basic obscure anime will still have like a high production intro sometimes with actual singers.
Yeah.
They might not be famous singers, but like actual record labels and music production companies have to get involved to make these. We are decades beyond the Devilman intro, and this intertwined relationship, it's so fascinating that like you can date it back to Ranma. And I never heard of that. I never heard anyone discuss that. I never heard anyone even acknowledge Ranma's music or its relationship to music. But again, I couldn't find anything older than it. The closest I could find was another anime made by the same production studio. So, like, they were clearly the people that put the most work into creating this relationship that we still see in media today. Even if they weren't the first, they were clearly the biggest people to do it, since I can't find any other examples of the time.
I guess we can all link it back to Rama. I mean, like, slight tangent, but like, if I play you a song, can you, like, instantly pop in your mind, it's like, oh yeah, this is probably an anime opening or ending, or it has something to do with an anime.
Some of them have that feeling.
Yeah, it has that like style, like a tone, right? It has that style. Like the chorus drags, or like the chorus is like really hooks you in, or something, or like the opening riff, or something about the song, right? It just screams like, oh, this is probably like an anime opening. Like there's a chant they do, or something about, right?
I remember Sonic Runners, the little like endless runner mobile game, came out, and people were like, why does the soundtrack for this Sonic mobile game sound like anime intros? This sounds like someone wanted to make a Sonic anime, and people were making like, they were writing like anime lyrics for these songs to pretend it was like some kind of like romantic Sonic anime or whatever. And it's like, yes, things absolutely can feel like anime songs. But yeah, I suppose, yeah, that's the takeaway. The history of music with Ranma has so much to unpack in ways that like no one ever discusses, and I just find that so interesting. Again, I couldn't prove it. I couldn't prove it.
Ranma did it first.
But it all comes back to Ranma. Everything comes back to Ranma. That's the takeaway. That's what this podcast is about. I'm the genius for making this.
This is starting to become like a religion of sorts. You have everything ties back to this, like the studio that made Ranma, the Ranma's influence, or what came after. Because I don't think do you ever mention anything that happened before Ranma that like led to the creation of it? A lot of it, like the jumping off points are kind of what Ranma did and like what happened afterwards. What you say?
Yeah. There's very few things leading up to it. Closest I could think of is like when Rumiko Takahashi came up with the idea. Her entire thought process was, "Hey, martial arts stuff is popular. People like those," and that's it.
Yeah, I guess so.
And that's how we get Asian Kung Fu Generation.
Listen to number 9. That's one of my favorite songs. Actually no. Definitive favorite song is Jokes Fit for a Fridge. Something like that. There's a weird translation, but something refrigerator. That's my favorite song. It's like 2 minutes and 50 seconds or something. My favorite song by far by them.
Yeah, those songs are all licensed, so I can't actually play any of them. So here, have Moose singing the theme to the Ranma movie, but in
normal non-deck human form.
Have fun, everybody.
All right, see you guys.
1 2 3 4 5 6 7